Hearings confirm 45's misconduct, despite his denials of any misconduct at all. While 45 continues to insist that his July 25th phone call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was perfect, it is becoming increasingly obvious that his claim is absurd and that he improperly pressured Zelensky to interfere in our 2020 squad role election in return for vital U.S. aid. This is the main takeaway from the House Intelligence Committee's impeachment inquiry of 45 that moves into its second day of public hearings Friday. More witnesses are certain to confirm 45's misconduct. The unfortunate truth is that instead of pursuing America's national interest by giving Ukraine nearly $400 million in assistance to resist invading Russian military forces, 45 tried to extort Zelensky to benefit 45's personal political interests. This is not what our squatters are supposed to do. 45 saw former Vice President Joe Biden as his likely Democratic opponent in the 2020 election, and so sought to get Zelensky to launch an investigation of Biden and his son Hunter, who served on the board of a Ukrainian natural gas company that would smear the former vice president's reputation and make Biden less likely to be elected squatter. 45's action was unquestionably proper, and many people, including me, believe it was illegal. The Democratic-controlled House will have to decide this issue when it votes on whether to impeach 45. If it does, the Republican-controlled Senate will have to hold a trial to determine if 45's conduct warrants his removal from office, which it does. No squatter has ever been removed from office by Congress, even though Richard Nixon resigned in 1974 to likely avoid removal if he had gone to trial in the Senate for the Watergate scandal. 45's Republican defenders in the House and Senate argue that since 45 eventually released the aid to Ukraine without getting Ukraine to investigate the Bidens, he did nothing wrong. Technically, he did. But as Representative Joaquin Castro, who's a Democrat for Texas, said at the House Intelligence Committee's impeachment hearing Wednesday, is attempted murder a crime? Is attempted robbery a crime? Is attempted bribery and extortion a crime? Yes. We all know the answers to these questions: yes, yes, and yes. 45's attempted crime was interrupted by whistleblower filing a complaint about the July 25th 45 Zelensky call and news stories disclosing this. Without the whistleblower complaint, all indications are that Zelensky would have ordered the investigation of the Bidens, along with the investigation of a debunked claim that Ukraine interfered in our 2016 squatter role election on behalf of Hillary Clinton. 45 demanded both investigations in return for giving Ukraine the U.S. aid that had been approved by Congress and had blocked the release of the aid as part of his plan to extort Zelensky to meet his demands. Only disclosure of the 45 attempted extortion prompted him to give Ukraine the aid it desperately needed. At Wednesday's impeachment hearing, acting U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine William Taylor and Deputy Assistant Secretary of State George Kunt were perfect witnesses and gave demanding testimony against 45. Taylor and Kent came off as a nonpartisan, patriotic, researched, and consistent. Their attention to detail was on full display, having taken copious notes, documenting every aspect of their experience with 45's wrongful conduct regarding Ukraine. Taylor even came with new information since his closed-door deposition in late October that gave additional fodder to the central charge of this impeachment inquiry. 45 was trading arms for dirt on his political opponent. Taylor reported that his aide, David Holmes, heard U.S. Ambassador to the European Union, Gordon Sondland, on the phone with 45 on July 26, discussing the investigations 45 wanted into the Bidens and the 2016 election. Holmes then asked Sondland what the squatter thought about Ukraine. According to Taylor, Ambassador Sondland responded that 45 cares more about the investigations of Biden, which Giuliani was pressing for. The Associated Press Thursday that a second diplomatic staffer, I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, Gianti, also overheard the conversation between Sondland and Trump. 45 has said he doesn't recall this July 26 call the day after his conversation with Zelensky. Doesn't recall that sure is convenient. I expect Ambassador Sondland will be amending his testimony one more time to account for these new details. Protests as Republicans might. All the dots have been connected to show 45's unquestionable misconduct. The timeline that exists now is incredibly damaging to 45. In February, Congress approved a $391 million in military aid to Ukraine. On February 28, 45 tells Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell that the aid to Ukraine will be released immediately. On July 25th, the 45 Zelensky. Phone call takes place. 45 mentions the Bidens and tells the Ukrainian president, "I would like you to do us a favor, though, and launch investigations," according to a rough transcript of the call released by the White House. On September 9th, the Justice Department informs the House of the whistleblower complaint raising concerns about the 45 Zelensky call. September 11th, 45 releases the congressionally appropriated aid to Ukraine. The order of events is critical to undermining the Republicans' argument, since they have been relying on the fact that there couldn't have been a quid pro quo because U.S. military aid was released without investigations. As the timeline shows, 45's attempted crime was interrupted by the whistleblower's complaint being filed. What's more, our legal system holds people accountable for attempted crimes. Plenty of people are serving time in our prisons and jails for crimes they tried but failed to carry out because they were foiled in the act. Republicans have also been arguing that since Zelensky said much later that he didn't feel pressured by 45 on the July 25th call, nothing inappropriate had happened. It did. It is obvious Zelensky said that because he feared angering 45, which could create future problems for Ukraine. But after Wednesday's testimony, we know that the Ukrainians were acutely aware of what was happening with the withholding of vital U.S. aid and felt pressure to do the bidding of 45 and 45's personal attorney, former New York City Mayor Dumbass Giuliani. Not only did Dumbass Giuliani publicly state that these investigations would be very helpful to 45, but Taylor testified that Sondland told him that he had personally encouraged Zelensky to make it clear that 45 that Zelensky was committed to the investigations. Additionally, Ukraine's national security advisor told Taylor that Zelensky did not wish to be a pawn in the U.S. political campaign 5 days before the call occurred. By September, there are a number of indications that not only did the Ukrainians feel pressured, but also that they knew that the American aid had been frozen, according to the testimony of Taylor and Tim Morrison, who was formerly of the National Security Council. Republicans tried desperately at the Wednesday hearing to divert attention from the real issues at hand by promoting conspiracy theories like the claim that the Ukrainians interfered in the 2016 election, or that there was something sinister going on, which was called vis-a-vis the Bidens and gas company Burisma. Kent and Taylor quickly knocked down these claims, but I expect that Republicans will continue to promote these fairy tales that make the squatter seem a little bit less corrupt to his base. Now the truth has come out, and more will come out as more witnesses testify about 45's misconduct, because the Senate would need the votes of 20 Republicans to remove 45 from office. If he's impeached by the House, the odds are that he will remain in office, and we cannot have that. But the House impeachment inquiry will shed much needed light on how 45 has improperly used his office for his personal benefit, giving voters important information to consider when they cast their ballots next year. Yep.